Hey there, culinary adventurers and life hackers. Welcome to our humble abode of forgotten wisdom. You see, back in the day, folks like your grandparents, they didn't have fancy gadgets and doohickeys for every little task. They relied on ingenuity, practicality, and a whole lot of common sense. So we're cracking open Grandpa's well-worn toolbox and dusting off some of those tried-and-true life hacks that'll have you saying, well, why didn't I think of that? We're talking food and cooking tips to make your taste buds sing, household hints to outsmart those everyday annoyances, gardening tricks to make your green thumb even greener, you name it, we've got it. This ain't your mama's quick fix though. We're gonna break down the science behind these hacks, why they work, and maybe even add a dash of modern-day flair. Because who says we can't learn a thing or two from the past while still embracing the present? So, grab a notepad, put on your thinking caps, and get ready for a heaping helping of Grandpa's wisdom. Let's get hacking. Out on the range, miles from a coffee shop, craving a good cup of joe? Cowboy Coffee is your answer. Rugged, full-flavored, and no frills. Unlike fancy makers, it keeps the natural oils for a richer taste. Boil water, add coarse grounds, let it steep, and enjoy. Simple, satisfying, and pure coffee flavor. Alright folks, let's talk potatoes. How to achieve that crispy golden brown exterior and fluffy interior. The secret? Lard, my friends. Embrace the magic of this often misunderstood fat. It's got a higher smoke point than many other cooking oils. Perfect for achieving that perfect crispiness. And it adds a depth of flavor you can't replicate. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside goodness. Give lard a try. Your taste buds will thank you. Now you might think you know scrambled eggs, but I bet you've never had them like this. Grandpa had this trick. See, he understood that eggs are basically just protein and water. And while that's great for building strong chickens, it doesn't always make for the most exciting breakfast. That's where a little bit of science comes in handy. We're going to use cornstarch, not as a thickener like you might think, but as a sort of bodyguard for the egg proteins. You see, when those proteins heat up, they tend to bond together tightly, squeezing out the water and leaving you with tough, rubbery eggs. Not on our watch. By whisking a bit of cornstarch into a little milk first, you're creating a slurry. And then, gently incorporating that into your beaten eggs, you're essentially giving those proteins a suit of armor. The cornstarch molecules get in the way, preventing them from forming those tight bonds. The result? Eggs so ridiculously tender and creamy they're practically custardy. Low and slow is the key here, folks. We're not scorching anything, we're gently coaxing those eggs into fluffy perfection. Go on, give it a try. Your taste buds will thank me. Let's talk coffee, folks. That magical elixir that jumpstarts our mornings and fuels our creativity. But sometimes that morning jolt comes with a bitter bite, and nobody wants that. Now you might reach for the sugar bowl, but Grandpa had another trick up his sleeve, and it all starts with something you usually toss in the trash eggshells. See, those eggshells aren't just garbage, they're packed with calcium carbonate. And calcium carbonate, my friends, is a natural acid neutralizer. Coffee bitterness comes from tannins, which are acidic little devils. By adding crushed eggshells to your coffee grounds, you're essentially introducing a team of tiny bouncers to keep those tannins in check. Now, before you turn your nose up at the idea of eggshells in your coffee, let me assure you this isn't about adding flavor. We're talking finely crushed shells, almost a powder, that blend right in. The result is a smoother, less bitter cup of coffee, allowing the natural flavors of the beans to shine through. It's like taking your coffee from a rough draft to a polished masterpiece, all thanks to a little help from Grandpa's wisdom and some humble eggshells. So next time you crack an egg for breakfast, remember to save those shells. Your coffee will thank you for it. Let's talk about one of the most glorious substances on earth, bacon grease. Now I know some of you are already reaching for the antacids, but hold on. Grandpa knew that tossing out bacon grease was practically a culinary sin. See, this isn't just fat, folks, it's liquid gold. Bacon fat is packed with smoky, savory flavor, and it boasts a high smoke point, making it ideal for frying and sautéing. Think about it. Those crispy potatoes we talked about earlier, imagine them cooked in bacon grease. It's a flavor explosion waiting to happen. Now before you go pouring that hot grease down the drain, and please don't do that, let's talk storage. First, strain that precious liquid through a fine mesh sieve to remove any stray bits. A coffee filter works in a pinch too. Then pour the strained grease into a heat-safe container. You can store it at room temperature for a few weeks or pop it in the fridge for longer storage. Use it to fry eggs, sauté vegetables, or add a punch of smoky goodness to soups and stews. Trust me, once you start cooking with bacon grease, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. We've all been there. You're simmering a pot of beans, the aroma filling the kitchen, but time seems to be moving slower than molasses in January. You could wait hours for those legumes to soften, or you could invite a little chemistry to the party. See, dried beans, those magical little protein powerhouses, have this tendency to, shall we say, announce their presence rather loudly after dinner. This is due to certain sugars that don't play nicely with our digestive systems. But fret not, because baking soda is here to save the day, and your stomach. A pinch of baking soda added to your boiling beans does more than just neutralize those pesky sugars. It also helps to break down the beans' cell walls, essentially speeding up the cooking process. You'll have tender, creamy beans in a fraction of the time, with the added bonus of fewer post-dinner sound effects. So, next time you're facing a pot of stubborn beans, remember the power of baking soda. It's a simple, pantry staple solution that'll have you saying bean appetit. Now let's talk about resourcefulness. Our grandparents, they knew a thing or two about making do with what they had. Take, for instance, this unassuming coffee can. It's more than just a vessel for caffeine delivery. It's a secret weapon in the kitchen. You see, that cylindrical metal container, once emptied of its caffeinated cargo, transforms into a makeshift baking pan, perfect for crafting a rustic golden brown loaf of bread. It's baking on a budget, folks, and the results are surprisingly delightful. The beauty of this hack lies in its simplicity. Just grease the can thoroughly, pour in your favorite bread dough, let it rise, and then bake. The metal heats evenly, ensuring a nicely browned crust, while the enclosed environment traps steam, resulting in a soft, fluffy interior. So, ditch the fancy bread pans, and embrace the ingenuity of our grandparents. Grab a humble coffee can, unleash your inner baker, and prepare to be amazed by the deliciousness that emerges from this unlikely culinary hero. Picture this. You're in the middle of whipping up a batch of pancakes, the batter's almost ready, and you reach for the milk, only to find it's gone sour. Don't panic, my friends, because Grandpa's got a trick up his sleeve for just such an occasion. Remember that age-old adage, waste not, want not? Well, it holds especially true in the kitchen. And when it comes to milk, stretching its lifespan is as easy as grabbing a little H2O. Now, I'm not suggesting you drown your cereal in a watery concoction. But if you find yourself a tad short on milk for a recipe, or simply want to make it last a bit longer, diluting it with a bit of water can be a lifesaver. The key here is to use cold water and to add it gradually, whisking constantly to ensure a smooth consistency. You'll be amazed at how this simple hack can stretch your grocery budget and keep those culinary creations flowing. Now, you might think I'm going off the deep end here, but hear me out. Those scissors you use for everything from opening food packaging to snipping herbs, they can get dull, and nobody wants a mangled basil leaf. Grandpa knew that a sharp blade is a happy blade, and he didn't need fancy gadgets to keep things tidy. Nope, all he needed was some good old-fashioned sandpaper. The secret lies in the grit. Take a piece of fine grit sandpaper and give those scissors a workout, making about 10 to 12 cuts through the paper. The abrasive action gently removes any burrs or dull spots, leaving you with a smoother, sharper edge. And the best part? No fancy sharpening tools, no sending your scissors away to a scissor spa, just a simple, effective solution that Grandpa swore by. We've all been there, wrestling with a drawer that seems to have declared war on smooth opening. You pull, you tug, you might even let out a few choice words. But Grandpa knew the secret to ending drawer drama, and it was hiding right there in the bathroom. That's right, folks. We're talking about a humble bar of soap. Not the fancy liquid stuff, mind you, but a good old-fashioned bar. Grandpa knew that soap, aside from its hygienic properties, had a hidden talent reducing friction. Take that bar of soap and rub it along the edges and runners of your sticky drawer. Don't be shy, really work it in there. The soap acts as a lubricant, filling in any rough spots and allowing the drawer to glide open and shut like it's on tiny roller skates. And there you have it. No more wrestling matches with your furniture, just smooth sailing from here on out. Thanks, Grandpa. Now, you might think flour is just for baking, but Grandpa knew better. He had a knack for finding unusual uses for everyday items, and his trick for sparkling faucets is a testament to that ingenuity. Forget harsh chemicals and expensive cleaning products. All you need is a little bit of flour power. I know what you're thinking. Flour? On faucets? But trust me on this one. Flour, particularly the all-purpose kind we all have in our pantries, has a surprising ability to polish metal to a brilliant shine. Simply sprinkle a bit of flour onto a soft, dry cloth. Then, with a gentle hand, start buffing your faucets. As you work, you'll notice the flour starting to pick up any grime or water spots, leaving behind a gleaming surface. It's like magic, but it's science. The fine particles in flour act as a mild abrasive, gently polishing away any dullness and leaving your faucets looking good enough to eat off of. But please, don't eat off your faucets. Alright folks, let's talk about brown sugar. That magical molasses-infused sweetener that makes cookies chewy and barbecue sauce sing. But we've all been there, reaching for that bag of brown sugar only to find a solid, unyielding brick. It's enough to make a grown baker cry. You see, brown sugar hardens when it loses moisture. That molasses, as delicious as it is also a humectant, meaning it loves to attract and hold on to water. So, when exposed to air, the molasses loses its grip on those precious water molecules, leaving your brown sugar high and dry like a forgotten sponge in the Arizona desert. Now, some folks will tell you to microwave the sugar with a damp paper towel, and while that might work in a pinch, you risk ending up with a molten sugar mess. No, my friends, there's a simpler, more elegant solution: a humble apple slice. That's right, just toss an apple slice or two into your brown sugar container, seal it up tight, and let it sit overnight. The apple releases moisture that the brown sugar readily absorbs, bringing it back to its soft, scoopable glory. It's like magic, but with science. Let's face it, our refrigerators are like the Bermuda Triangle of food storage. Things go in, get forgotten, and then reappear weeks later as science experiments gone wrong. And the smells? Don't even get me started on the smells. But fear not, intrepid viewers, for we have a weapon against these olfactory offenses: baking soda. Baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate, is a true kitchen workhorse. It's a leavening agent, a cleaning powerhouse, and now, your fridge's best friend. You see, baking soda is naturally alkaline, meaning it can neutralize those acidic odors that emanate from forgotten leftovers and questionable condiments. Simply pour about a cup of baking soda into an open container. No need to get fancy, a small bowl or even a repurposed yogurt container will do, and place it on a shelf in your fridge. The baking soda will get to work absorbing and neutralizing those unwanted aromas, leaving your fridge smelling fresher than a spring breeze. Now here's the catch: baking soda doesn't last forever. For optimal odor-fighting power, replace your baking soda every 3 months. Think of it like changing the air filter in your car, a small investment for a much more pleasant experience. Salt, the essential seasoning, the flavor enhancer, the preserver of countless civilizations. But for all its virtues, salt can be a fickle friend, prone to clumping and clogging up our shakers like rush hour traffic. Humidity is the culprit here, folks. Salt naturally attracts moisture from the air, causing those tiny crystals to stick together like old friends at a reunion. Now, you could invest in fancy salt cellars or those little terracotta moisture absorbers, but why bother when you have a pantry staple that can do the trick? Rice? That's right, plain old rice, the unsung hero of the culinary world. Just add a teaspoon or two of uncooked rice to your salt shaker. The rice acts like a sponge, absorbing excess moisture and preventing those pesky clumps from forming. It's like having tiny little bodyguards for your salt crystals, ensuring they stay separated and ready to flow freely onto your food. And the best part? You can use any kind of rice you have on hand. Long grain, short grain, brown rice, even those little broken pieces at the bottom of the bag. They all work equally well. So go ahead, give your salt the royal treatment with a sprinkle of rice and enjoy the smooth, clump-free seasoning experience you deserve. You know those jars? The ones with lids that seem to have welded themselves shut? Don't even try to deny it, we've all been there. You twist and you turn, maybe even resort to banging it on the counter like a savage, but that lid just laughs at your efforts. Well, fret no more, because Grandpa's got a solution that doesn't involve brute strength. It's time to call in the reinforcements: a humble rubber band. That's right, this unassuming little loop of rubber is about to become your new best friend in the kitchen. Simply grab a rubber band, any rubber band will do, and wrap it around that stubborn lid. Make sure it's nice and snug. Now here's the science behind it. The rubber provides extra grip, allowing you to overcome the static friction that's holding you hostage. So, give that lid another twist and feel that satisfying pop as it finally surrenders. You're welcome. And Grandpa, a tip of the hat to you, you crafty devil. Folks, we've all heard of composting, but Grandpa's about to take it to a whole new level. Get ready for this human hair as fertilizer. Now before you go running for the hills, hear me out. Turns out, hair is made up of keratin, which is a protein rich in nitrogen. And what do plants crave more than anything? You guessed it, nitrogen. It's like a juicy steak for your petunias. Now I'm not suggesting you start a side hustle as a hair farmer. Just collect those stray clippings from your hairbrush or after a haircut. Sprinkle them around the base of your plants, and let nature do its thing. The hair will decompose slowly, releasing nutrients into the soil and giving your plants a healthy boost. Plus, it's a great way to recycle something that would otherwise end up in the landfill. Talk about a win-win! Alright folks, let's talk potassium. It's an essential nutrient for plant growth, helping with everything from photosynthesis to water regulation. But store-bought fertilizers, they can get pricey, and who knows what kind of chemicals are lurking in those bags. Fear not, my frugal friends, because Grandpa's got a solution that's both effective and easy on the wallet banana peels. Yes, you heard me right. Those seemingly useless peels are actually a goldmine of potassium, just waiting to be unlocked. Now, you could just toss those peels on top of the soil. But for maximum effectiveness, let's bury them. Dig a shallow trench around your plants and toss those peels in. As the peels decompose, they'll release their potassium goodness directly to the roots of your plants. Think of it as a slow-release fertilizer, providing a steady supply of nutrients throughout the growing season. And the best part? It's completely natural and won't harm your plants or the environment. Grandpa knew how to garden with a conscience, didn't he? Wood ash? In my garden? Sounds messy. But trust me folks, this ain't your mama's fireplace soot. It's pure natural goodness from Mother Nature's incinerator, full of calcium, potassium, magnesium, all the good stuff your plants crave. Think of it like a multivitamin for your soil. But moderation is key. Start with a light dusting. And remember, wood ash is alkaline, not for acid-loving plants. So, you've finished reading the headlines, caught up on the latest sports scores, and maybe even solved a crossword puzzle or two. What do you do with all those old newspapers piling up? Well, before you toss them in the recycling bin, hold on a minute. Those newsprint pages can actually do wonders for your garden. We're talking about using newspapers as mulch, folks. Now I know what you're thinking. Newspaper? Isn't that going to be messy and attract pests? But trust me on this one. When layered properly, newspaper can be a surprisingly effective and eco-friendly alternative to traditional mulches. The key here is to use several sheets of newspaper, at least 6 to 8 layers thick, and to wet them thoroughly before laying them down. This helps them to form a dense barrier that prevents sunlight from reaching the weeds below, effectively smothering them. Plus, the newspaper acts as a moisture retainer, keeping your soil cool and damp even during the hottest summer months. And as for those pesky pests, well, the ink used in most newspapers nowadays is soy-based, making it perfectly safe for your garden. In fact, some folks even claim that the smell of printing ink can deter certain insects. Now that's what I call a win-win situation. Calluses. Those rough, hardened patches of skin are the bane of gardeners, hikers, and anyone who works with their hands. But sometimes, those calluses can get a little out of hand, becoming dry, cracked, and downright uncomfortable. All you need are 2 simple ingredients you probably already have in your kitchen: vinegar and bread. Vinegar is a natural exfoliant, and bread helps keep the area moist. Secure it with a bandage and leave it on overnight. In the morning, marvel at your softer, smoother skin. Now we all know the misery of a scratchy sore throat. It's like sandpaper in a sock down there. But before you reach for the cough drops, let's talk about a natural remedy your great-grandpappy might have used: marshmallow root. You see, this isn't about the fluffy white stuff we roast over a campfire. Marshmallow root contains a substance called mucilage. Think of it like a natural plant-based goo that coats and soothes irritated tissues. To make the tea, simply simmer about a tablespoon of dried marshmallow root in a cup of water for 15 to 20 minutes. Strain out the root pieces, let it cool a bit, and then sip slowly. It's like a warm hug for your throat. And because we're all about multitasking in the kitchen, you can even use the leftover marshmallow root to make a soothing skin salve or add it to homemade dog treats for a little extra TLC for your furry friend. Alright folks, let's talk hair care, and no, I'm not about to suggest you deep condition with mayonnaise. We're going old school, but in a good way, with an apple cider vinegar rinse. Now before you wrinkle your nose, hear me out. Apple cider vinegar, or ACV as the cool kids call it, is a natural powerhouse when it comes to hair health. It helps balance your scalp's pH, which can get thrown off by all the shampoos, conditioners, and styling products we use. To make the rinse, simply mix a tablespoon or 2 of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with a cup of water. After shampooing and conditioning as usual, pour the mixture over your hair, giving your scalp a good massage. Let it sit for a minute or 2 while you ponder the mysteries of the universe, then rinse thoroughly. The vinegar smell will disappear as your hair dries, leaving you with soft, shiny locks that would make Rapunzel jealous. We've talked about food, we've talked about hair, so naturally we have to address the nails. Now, chipped nail polish is a fact of life, but stained nails? That's where we draw the line. And thankfully, we don't need harsh chemicals to combat those unsightly yellow spots. Enter the humble lemon. A fruit so versatile it can brighten your nails as easily as it brightens a glass of iced tea. Lemons are packed with citric acid, a natural bleaching agent that can gently lift stains and leave your nails looking healthy and strong. Simply juice half a lemon into a small bowl and soak your fingertips in the juice for about 10 minutes. For stubborn stains, you can gently scrub with a soft toothbrush. After soaking, rinse your hands thoroughly and admire your sparkling, revitalized nails. And while you're at it, go ahead and make yourself a refreshing glass of lemonade. You've earned it. Grandpa knew a thing or two about keeping things fresh, and it wasn't just about his produce. Now, I'm not suggesting you go dousing yourself in the stuff, but a little bit of rubbing alcohol on those tootsies can work wonders. See, foot odor is caused by bacteria, those microscopic critters having a feast on your sweat and releasing some pretty funky fumes in the process. But alcohol? Alcohol is like a bouncer for your feet, showing those bacteria the door. It's all about disrupting their little party. The alcohol disrupts the cell walls of the bacteria, effectively knocking them out of commission. And no bacteria, no funky cheese smell emanating from your shoes. Just a few spritzes or a quick wipe with an alcohol-soaked cotton ball after a shower and you're good to go. Grandpa would approve, and let's be honest, you don't want to disappoint Grandpa. We've all been there. You're admiring your beautiful wooden furniture and then you see it, a scratch, a mark, a blemish on the surface of perfection. Now, before you go full-on woodworker trying to sand and refinish the whole darn thing, Grandpa's got a trick for you. Reach for a walnut, and I'm not talking about the kind you bake with. A plain old walnut, still in its shell, is all you need. The meat of the walnut, especially the darker parts, contains natural oils that work wonders on wood. Simply crack open the nut and rub the exposed meat directly onto the scratch. Work it in gently, following the direction of the grain. You'll notice the scratch starts to disappear as the walnut's oils interact with the wood. It's like magic, but it's really just science. The oils penetrate the wood, darkening the lighter areas of the scratch and making it blend seamlessly with the surrounding surface. A little buffing with a soft cloth afterward and you're back in business. Concrete, the backbone of our driveways, patios, and sidewalks. But even the toughest concrete can develop cracks over time. Now, you could call in a crew, but Grandpa knew a DIY solution that could save you a bundle. It's called epoxy, and it's like the duct tape of the concrete world. Epoxy is a two-part adhesive that, when mixed together, creates a powerful bond that's both durable and waterproof. That means it can handle the weight of cars, the elements, and even the occasional weed trying to poke through. Now, before you go slathering epoxy on every little crack you see, a little prep work is in order. Clean the crack thoroughly, removing any loose debris or vegetation. Then, mix up your epoxy according to the manufacturer's instructions. We're going for a smooth, consistent mixture here, folks. Apply the epoxy to the crack, pressing it in firmly to ensure good adhesion. You can use a putty knife or even your gloved finger to smooth it out. Once it's dry, you'll have a practically invisible repair that's tougher than a bull in a china shop. Grandpa would be proud. Now, we've all been there. You're putting together a masterpiece, maybe a delicate pastry or a model ship, and you reach for the adhesive. But hold on, before you squeeze that synthetic concoction, consider this, the humble egg white. You heard me right, folks. That clear goo surrounding the yolk isn't just for meringues and omelets. It's a powerhouse of natural binding potential. See, egg whites are primarily made up of protein, and when they dry, those proteins form tight bonds. It's the same principle behind gluten development in bread dough. And while it might not be strong enough to build a house, though I encourage you to try and send me pictures, it's surprisingly effective for lighter tasks. Think about repairing a torn page in a beloved book, mending a loose piece of wallpaper, or even sealing those little envelopes with a touch of old-world charm. Simply whisk an egg white until it's slightly frothy, apply a thin layer to your surfaces and press them together until dry. It's non-toxic, readily available, and washes away with water. Plus, you can feel good about using every part of the ingredient. Waste not, want not, I always say. So next time you're in a sticky situation, remember the power of the egg white. There's nothing quite as confidence-shattering as a well-placed shoe squeak. It can turn a grand entrance into a symphony of awkwardness. But fear not, cornstarch can silence those squeaky shoes. Sprinkle a teaspoon or two into the offending shoe, target the squeaky areas and shake to distribute. Enjoy some peace and quiet and walk with confidence. We've all been there, enjoying the great outdoors when bam, mosquito attack. Those little vampires leave behind itchy welts that just scream for relief. But hold on before you reach for the over-the-counter creams. Grandpa knew a thing or two about natural remedies and his weapon of choice, the humble onion. Now I know what you're thinking. Onions make you cry. not stop the itching. But trust me on this one. Onions contain sulfur compounds with anti-inflammatory properties. These compounds, when applied topically, can help reduce swelling and that maddening urge to scratch. So how do you unlock this oniony superpower? Simply cut an onion in half and rub the cut side directly on the bite. You can also grate a small piece of onion and apply the juice to the affected area. It may sound strange, but the relief might just make you cry. Tears of joy, that is. Just remember to wash your hands thoroughly afterward, unless you want to be smelling onions all day. We've covered food hacks, cleaning hacks, even garden hacks, but what about those aches and pains? Grandpa had an answer for that too, and you might be surprised to find it hiding in your crisper drawer. No, not the pickle jar, I'm talking about cabbage. Turns out, cabbage isn't just for coleslaw and sauerkraut. Those sturdy leaves pack a secret weapon, anti-inflammatory compounds that can help soothe sore muscles. Think of it like a heating pad from Mother Nature herself. To unleash the magic, simply boil a few cabbage leaves until they're soft and pliable. Let them cool slightly. You don't want to recreate that time you microwaved your lunch for too long. Once they're warm to the touch, place the leaves directly on the sore muscles and secure them with a wrap or bandage. The warmth of the leaves combined with those powerful anti-inflammatory compounds can help reduce swelling and alleviate pain. It's like a spa treatment for your sore muscles straight from Grandpa's garden. Well folks, there you have it. A treasure trove of Grandpa's old-school life hacks that have stood the test of time. From repurposing kitchen staples to finding ingenious solutions in the most unexpected places, these tips and tricks prove that sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. Remember, these hacks aren't just about practicality, they're about resourcefulness, ingenuity, and a dash of that old-fashioned wisdom that seems to be fading these days. So the next time you're facing a household dilemma or a culinary conundrum, take a page from Grandpa's book. Thanks for watching. We hope you found these old-school life hacks as fascinating and useful as we do. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more tips and tricks from the past. See you next